Okay. Sounds good. Finally, the screen is working for the four panelists, so this should make life easier for us.
Explaining, giving ideas. And one of the people in the conversation said, it is not easy to run a country. And they say to me, Maria, so if you were the president, that in and of itself will be a deterrence. So if we were truly interference by executive and the legislature, then have an independent judiciary. That is the Kenya that we want. A Kenya that will be able to enforce the good laws that we have. A Kenya that we know when people are brought to court, they will actually face justice. A Kenya we know that justice is not delayed, because justice delayed is justice denied. And also, like, I don't know where else in the world whereby um, prosecutors are policemen, you know, and they are going to argue a case against lawyer who has gone police and say this is the prosecutor. We need also to look at that, so that we can be able, the cases that are brought, those cases are strong. They can, go head to head with the lawyers who have legal, have gone to law school. So I think them in the judicial system, then people will actually, things will start. The second thing that I think about is about ideology, right? As a country, our participation really is during elections. And after elections, we are gone. Were it not for the Gen Z, I don't know how many of what was in the bill, right? We get disengaged. We get removed from what, almost like there's the government and then there's us. So that ideology, right? We need to be actively engaged constantly and persistently. I think of my neighbor. I'll give an example. I live here in New Jersey. My neighbor was, God rest her soul in peace. She was an old lady. Every morning she'd tell me, "Oh, Maria, today there is the town hall. Please come early. We need to go and represent." And I'm like, "Oh," she says, "Yes. Last week, the whole of last week, they have been picking the garbage at 9:30. They should pick it at 9." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Slow down, lady. They picked it at 9:30. They should pick it at 9." So that engagement, this is our Kenya, this is our country, being engaged, not only at the time of elections. And then we need to also accept and have a conversation. Every time we talk about corruption, I think, where does really our corruption stem from? Place, I bring you something, I give you something. If you do something, I give you something. That is how we are, we have lived. That's our culture. But we have to talk about, how do you separate that? Do this for me. I think the last thing I would like to add is, really, we need to make political and top government offices unattractive. Right now, if you want the best job in Kenya, you become a politician. That's what I can contribute, that I have lived outside, I have seen something different. The mayor of my town is a part-time teacher in the local school. We can't afford a full-time mayor. We cannot pay a mayor. So the mayor is a mayor so that they can serve, but he also has another job where he gets money. So we have to make these political offices and top government um, officials very unattractive, so that the intent of you going there is really to serve, not to make money. And I think, those are some of the ideas. I feel very passionate about them. I could go on and on, how we can try to make people not be bought in, sell out, co-opted, infiltrated, become clapping hands. That's another whole topic about the church,
Sure.
clapping
Sure.
hands on the side. But for now, let me
Good.
give everybody else a chance to say something.
Thank you, Maria. By the way, those are very interesting points. Just a recap of what you just said here for those ones. Because now we are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter, we're also live on YouTube. So again, for those ones who are joining us, the best way to do this, you can go ahead on our Facebook page on KDL TV. Please subscribe. That way you have all the updates right on your social media platform. But the key point here, Maria is talking about the judicial system. And by the way, the legal environment in Kenya. And again, like I said, I just came back from Kenya, and quite frankly, the legal system, I can't, I'm not ashamed to say this on camera, it's at best pathetic, and really, we really need to dive into that. And I appreciate you talking about the idea of ideology. That's important. Again, we'll dive into that when we get into the discussion good governance and government structure. But of most interesting on your end, Maria, I like that argument where you're talking about making those top government officials unattractive. I didn't think of that until this moment, but I think it does make sense because, in part, when you look at some of the political leaders in Kenya, quite frankly, the behaviors at a national level is so unfortunate, so sad, especially for those of us watching from a distance. Sometimes you want to cry. You can't even imagine that those are the kind of leaders leading our nation today. But again, thank you for your contribution, Maria, as I bring in Dr. Robert Theory. Dr. Robert Theory, yes, we're talking about this. The Gen Zs are in the streets. The emotions are very high. The diasporians, of course, keyed on their smartphones and laptops and all that good stuff. But in the end, what we need to talk about is what kind of Kenya do we really deserve? In your view, what Kenya do we deserve?
Thank you, Dr. Okari, and before me, thank you, Dr. Maria, for those sentiments. The Kenya we deserve, or the Kenya that we are looking forward to, is a Kenya primarily where the constitution of Kenya, anything else does not matter. If the rule of law is not supreme, then anything else does not matter. So I agree concurrently in making sure that we follow our constitution, because that is what binds us all together. And then, of course, we must have peace and stability in this country, because as you always know, there's nothing that we can do in an environment that has no peace, especially peace that allows coexistence, exchange of goods and services, and more importantly, whether those goods are public or private, to ensure that people are leading a dignified life, to make sure that people have access to resources, ensuring that people are able to afford things. Now we have an education system where people are going through the education system, and at the end of it are lacking jobs. This is a situation that is in itself creating a situation where these people are productive. And that is why we are saying we have to look at this holistically. There has to be a stability. There has to be peace. And more importantly, people need to have resources that are going to allow them to be able to achieve their dreams and achieve their endeavors. Because again, that is what life is about. Life is about ensuring that people get access to resources that are going to help them become better. We know that public resources are there. Are they equitably distributed? Are there areas of our country where people are not getting an opportunity? Are areas of our country that are getting more opportunities than others? We need to really make sure that there is equitable distribution of resources. Because we have always said in our in all the party formations say that their manifestos are about ensuring that there is no poverty, there is no ignorance, there are no diseases. But do they achieve this? So we need to really even integrate what these political formations offer the people, the promises that people are given, especially during electioneering time. Are some of these promises genuine? Are they achievable? Are they just promises where people are just told to recoup what they have spent, so that it becomes now a kind of a cycle that is retrogressive? So what we are saying is that we need to interrogate a lot of things, even how we get politicians and legislators into work. Just like what Dr. Maria Kioko said, we need to make some of these offices unattractive in terms of pay, in terms of largesse, in terms of remuneration, so that only those who feel that they can be able to serve and serve our people well become crucial. So we are looking at a Kenya that is socioeconomically well positioned to develop. In fact, years back, we thought our country would be at the level in which Singapore is at. We know we can be able to be there. We have that potential, but then there are things that are not working very well. And it's so telling that the finance bill that was brought broke the camel's back, because people are saying that there is over taxation. They cannot be able to afford the cost of living. The goods are very expensive, and manufacturers are finding that they cannot be able to operate in that kind of an environment. So what we are saying that there is this cocktail of things that have been happening, and we really need to interrogate so that we can position this country into where we are able to live comfortably, to coexist well, and also to progress well. And I think these are doable. This is a country that has a lot of potential if people can be able to come together and really work this out. I thank the Gen Zs for really saying enough is enough and ensuring that now we can be able all to be at the table. And if the table is not going to be there for everyone, other people are going to make their own tables. Yeah? So that is why we are saying we must all come together to formulate this on a Kenya that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President Rambashu. Very eloquent report, and I appreciate the way